Can yoga bring you bliss? According to Sue Bushell, it can. Listen in on this episode of Radiate Wellness, the podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast with your host, metaphysician, Reiki master, and hypnotherapist, Christi Hoffman. Each week, we will discover teachings, tips, and tools to radiate your best life ever with practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate?
Hello, and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Christi Hoffman. I'm so glad that you're here listening to this episode. Today, we radiate bliss with Sue Bushell, who is the author of Radiant Bliss, a transformative yoga journey for the modern soul. Now, Sue is a multi-award-winning writer transformed by over 25 years of dedicated yoga practice. Her exploration of this ancient discipline has shaped her understanding of wellness, spirituality, and extensive contributions to the media and publication industries. Beyond personal practice, Sue has completed rigorous training, including a 3-year Ashtanga yoga teacher program and intensive studies at the Hard Light Meditation Center in Australia. These experiences ground her approach in both tradition and contemporary wisdom. Dru Yoga, a dynamic and holistic style with roots in Gandhian philosophy, has been her focus for the past 15 years. Sue is a certified Dru Yoga and meditation teacher, specializing in kids and teens with advanced studies in postgraduate mastery and steps to enlightenment. So happy to have you join me today, Sue. Thanks for being part of Radiate Wellness.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure, and I'm such an admirer of your work in the podcast. It's great to be here.
I was so excited to radiate bliss with you because I think bliss is something that I don't know that we understand it fully. So your book is Radiant Bliss, a transformative yoga journey for the modern soul. So what does bliss mean to you?
As I say in the book, bliss is our true nature. It's the heart of what we really are, but it's just hidden by our lack of ability to access all of the different layers of our being, which is why I was so keen to write this book, because yoga takes you through the different layers of your being and helps you to understand your true nature in a way that, well, I'm sure that things like Qigong and Tai Chi, other spiritual disciplines do. Reiki, I know, does similar mind, body, soul work. But yoga for me has just been such a transformation of me. And I just wanted to share with the world that really deep down we are bliss. This is our essential nature once we learn to understand how to access it.
You know, I have done yoga and, probably not more than the average bear, but I've done yoga on and off through the years. I just do not have that connection that so many people have with it. So when you first stumbled onto yoga, what was your feeling about it?
I was a mess when I first stumbled onto yoga. I was in my 30s, I think. I was a nervous wreck. I was quick panic attacks. I'd had a very traumatic childhood. Life was tough for me.
Oh.
And I was the sort of person, who, if I had a meeting the next day in a place I hadn't been to before, I would drive my car there that day just to make sure that the day went smoothly, because I was such a panicky person. And I started to do yoga and I started to transform without knowing why yoga was making a difference to me. And so I started to delve a lot more into the spiritual and philosophical side. And it just really touched me. And I've just read so many books about yoga, but none of them quite got to the material that I present in Radiant Bliss, because I did my teacher training, several teacher trainings, in fact, and I went away and I wanted to learn about the things I've been taught. And there are lots and lots and lots of really good books about yoga, but none of them actually talked about the koshas, which is where I go to deeply into my book, which is the layers of our being. We don't really realize we live so much in our physical body, that we don't notice that we have an energetic body, we have a mental body, we have a wisdom body, and then ultimately we have a bliss body. And they're all hidden by what yoga calls Maya. Maya is the things that we do in our daily life, the things that affect us in our daily life, none of which are real, but which feel incredibly real to us until we start to go deeper, meditate, understand that really we're just not people that we think we are. That's what yoga taught me.
Yeah, and that is like the core of so much of what I do is to help people know that we're not alone and there's more, much more to us than we think that we know.
Absolutely. And yoga also helps us to realize, as you say, we are not alone. We are actually all connected. We are all one. And when you go really deeply into it, you start to understand that there is only the one consciousness and we're all just a part of that. There are some analogies I do in my book, which are pretty common. They're not original, but we can think of ourselves as waves in the ocean. We come up, we think we're separate from the rest of it. But in actual fact, when you go back down again, we're really all part of the one wide ocean, and that's the universal consciousness. It's not easy to get that understanding, but after you've practiced for a while, it becomes very clear to you.
Wow.
We're all connected.
So what do you think is the connection here with yoga and the body? Is like, how does yoga, as opposed to other forms of stretching or other forms of exercise, how does it result in this bliss?
Well, a good yoga class, you're doing stretching, but you're also at the same time impacting your energetic body and your mental body, your mind. A really good yoga class will take you through a deep relaxation at the end of the yoga class, and so many yoga teachers miss this. It's such a shame. So you'll do a really deep relaxation, and once you get down into those levels of yourself where your mind is at rest, your body is still, that starts to become aware that there's much more to you than you ever thought there was. And once you learn how to meditate as well, I think meditation is a really important part of the yoga journey. But then so is being out in nature, so is connecting with the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees, and sitting on a mountaintop or sitting by a creek and listening and just opening your senses. We don't do that enough in our modern busy worlds.
In fact, in the modern busy world, so many people, address the challenges of modern life. And how can we integrate yoga into our busy schedules? And,
Well, yoga is an all-day practice. You can take a few breaths in between busy meetings and just center yourself, and that's yoga, Have a stretch in the bathroom in between meetings if you're feeling fraught, and just close your eyes, breathe deeply for a few seconds, and then that's yoga as well. And it's all about part of learning how to integrate the practices into your daily life, and it just slowly starts to transform you. I didn't know why yoga was making me feel better until I started to study why yoga makes you feel better. And once you start to get into, because, the ancient Indians who discovered yoga or developed yoga were scientists. They did things, saw the effects, did something else, saw the effects, and they went deeply into consciousness and this true state of reality. And we all try to be yoga scientists too, I think. If you take it that way as a beginner's mind every time you practice, what's happening to me today? Why am I feeling this way? What would be the best thing for me to do to amplify those feelings or to put feelings aside that aren't doing good service? Then we can learn how to slowly just improve our lives, improve our minds, and learn how to love. I didn't know how to love. Yoga teaches you to open your heart as well, and I think that's such an important part of it. Learning how to be compassionate, learning how to be sensitive to other people and connect with other people. And I think in Radiant Bliss, I try to spend quite a bit of time talking about the connections between people and that heart-based aspect of yoga as well.
Yeah, heartbeat. So how did you find out about the scientific benefits of yoga?
Well, as I say, I became fanatic. Once I discovered yoga, I became a fanatic practicer. And I'd never been to a yoga class. I didn't go to a yoga class for about 10 years, where I was just doing videos and quite every day I'd get up at 3:30. I'd practice my yoga for an hour and a half before I had to face the family and go to work and all of those things. And I wanted to know why I was feeling better. So I started to read a book or two, and I started to read lots and lots and lots of books. And then I started to do courses with gurus and study under masters. And it just all became an obsession. I just couldn't stop thinking about it, couldn't stop studying it. And I've spent the last 20 years, I think, just going deeply into yoga philosophy and science.
Oh, very interesting. So you studied yoga for a long time before even taking a class.
I have a hyperkyphosis, so I was really self-conscious about going into a class with other people. I thought, I can't do this. I don't mind doing it by myself. I can't do it in front of other people. Then I went to a class and it was just transformative because it was a beautiful class from a lovely Dru Yoga teacher, which is the tradition I study under. And I just never looked back after that. That's what convinced me to do the teacher training, and then I did the meditation teacher training, then I did the steps to enlightenment training, and then I did the subtle energetics of Dru Yoga for training. So I've probably done more than 1,000 hours of teacher training without ever seriously teaching classes. But as I say, Radiant Bliss is my way of teaching because I'm a writer by profession. I'm much more comfortable putting words on paper than speaking out in front of groups. So that was just my way of sharing the teachings that I learned. It's excited and inspired me with the world. My gift to yoga, I think, my homage to yoga is my book.
Only book you've written on yoga?
Yes, it is. I'm working on a course at the moment. I may or may not launch it, which is looking at the archetypes of yoga, the gods and goddesses and how they seem really strange. How can we have 1,000 gods? That's ridiculous. But you start to understand that each of those gods is an archetype of yourself. It's a characteristic of yourself that you can take in. I've done this course. I'm just not sure I can be bothered putting the effort into market at the moment. Just marketing Radiant Bliss has taken up so much of my time. I feel like I need a break to get back to my basic practices and things now.
What did you do before finding yoga, or before writing Radiant Bliss, I should say?
I was a journalist. I was in the IT sphere, so I was writing to chief information officers and other executives in big corporations, talking all about information technology and how it can make their lives better or how can it improve their companies. And I was really good at it, but it never touched my soul. It never inspired me. It was just a job. Good job. I earned a lot of money from it, but it was just a job. And all of the time I was doing it, probably for the last 10 years, I was studying yoga, and in between writing stories, I was reading about yoga or practicing yoga, thinking, as soon as I retire, once I retire and put all this behind me, yoga is just going to be my full-time life, which is what it is basically now.
So what did your family think of you taking this deep dive into yoga?
Oh, my husband's wonderful. He's really supportive. He's not a yogi himself, but he's basically a very spiritual person without being spiritual, if you know what I mean. His whole attitudes, his philosophy, he's deep down a very spiritual person. So he gets it. And he proofread the book for me, and, he's helped a little bit with marketing things. So it's been great to have a supportive family. It makes a big difference.
You said before you found yoga, you were a bit of a mess.
Oh, yeah. I was panic attacks. I'd get angry at the drop of a hat. And more importantly than that, I was an obsessive thinker. If I thought somebody had slighted me, I would go over and over and over in my mind what I should have said to them, what I wanted to say to them, how I wanted to react. And I just never really understood that was just my mind thinking with me. It took me a long time to realize that my thoughts aren't me. I was one of these people who lived in their head for too many years. I wasn't even present in my life so much because I was so much in my head and in my thoughts. And after doing yoga, all that just kind of faded away. It's remarkable how once you understand that you aren't your thoughts and that you can change your thoughts and control your thoughts, and how your thoughts can be a positive thing rather than a destructive thing. That's what yoga taught me, and that's why it's been so transformative, I think.
Oh, I love that. It seems like it really has changed your life.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, you had hinted about the scientific insights. What are some of the scientific studies?
I thought you might ask, and I've got some here I can read to you, in fact.
You.
So, stress and mental health. There was a Harvard and Massachusetts General Hospital 8-week mindfulness study that showed increased grey matter density in the hippocampus, which is good for learning and memory, and reduced density in the amygdala, which means that the stress fear response was definitely going down. There's been a review of 47 trials with 3,500 participants that found that meditation reduces anxiety, depression, and pain levels comparable to antidepressants. So in a way, it's at least as good as antidepressants, and I'd say much better because you're not doing the other harms to your body that taking tablets do. Transcendental meditation has been linked to lower blood pressure and reduced risk of heart disease. Immune function, mindfulness meditation training increases antibody response to flu vaccine, suggesting enhanced immunity. And meditation has been proved to improve focus, memory, and attention span. And even short daily practices show measurable improvements in concentration. So that's pretty convincing evidence. So meditation really isn't just spiritual. It literally reshapes the brain, calms the body, brightens the immune system. What could go wrong? What could be better?
The thing is, there are no contraindications. There's no adverse side effects.
No, absolutely not. And it's much easier than you think. I've spoken to many people who say, oh, I can't meditate. I can't stop my brain from working. There are all these thoughts that keep coming up when I try. But people should realize that thoughts will always come up. The Dalai Lama has thoughts when he meditates. It's just a matter of not engaging with them, just seeing them as little clouds that just pass by. And as each thought arises, you just say, okay, thank you, thought. I'm meditating now.
We think we can stop our mind, but we can't stop our lungs and we can't stop our heart,
No.
our brain. It's just not.
Your mind will go into stillness the more you relax. And the more you just start to focus on your breathing. Deep relaxation is one important key to meditation. And in the Dru Yoga courses, we always recommend that people do a bit of movement before they try to meditate. And then they have a relaxation, of proper physical relaxation, and then they meditate. And once you're sitting there with your body completely relaxed, you accept your surroundings, you say, oh, well, yeah, sure, there's noise. It's okay. Let's just accept that that's there and don't let it disturb us. I mean, some people can meditate in the middle of a busy street if they need to.
Yeah, I've meditated in MRI machines that are so loud.
Yeah.
I usually do if I have to have an MRI. Right. So we can do this anywhere. So, yeah, I mean, I think a common misconception is that yoga is only certain stretches held for interminable lengths of time, but it's not. It's a whole life practice, isn't it?
It is, and anybody can do yoga, or even the physical parts of yoga, because there are always modifications. There's excellent chair yoga programs for people who are immobile, who can do yoga in a chair. So, and in Dru Yoga, which is the tradition I've studied under, we're taught that you can do modifications for just about any physical condition. I'll tell you a story. We had a woman attending, one of my yoga teachers, in fact, when she first went to her teacher training, was in a wheelchair with multiple sclerosis. Now, she couldn't feed herself. She had to have an attendant with her all the time. She was drinking out of a straw. And she sat at the back of the class and she did all of the practices in her mind. And then she went away. She did all of the practices in her mind. And slowly, her body started to improve. And by the time she was in the middle of the class, she'd left the wheelchair behind and she was standing up and she still had a cane. At the end of the course, she was up and running. She now does cross-country skiing. She was teaching yoga, but she's moved on to other things now. I mean, that's a transformation story in itself, isn't it? It just shows you that anybody can do yoga and get benefits from it.
Do you have any other interesting case studies?
Now, I'm not sure I've got any others, but there were just so many people you meet all of the time whose lives have improved through the yoga. All of my fellow students who I keep regular touch with, I don't think any of them have ever looked back, and they all still practice regularly because they know the benefits.
Now, back to your book, Radiant Bliss, A Transformative Yoga Journey for the Modern Soul. Like, who did you write this for?
I wrote it for students of yoga and for teachers of yoga who want to go deeply into it, because not all teacher trainings are the same, not all teachers are the same, but there's just so much depth in yoga that I wanted to share with people. Toni Morrison once said, if there's a book that you want to read and it hasn't been written, you must write it yourself. So since I couldn't find a book about the koshas when I came home from all of my teacher trainings, incredibly excited and wanting to read more, I thought, well, I'll have to do that. I'll just have to share what I know with the world because it so excites me and so inspires me. I just want other people to have that same sense of inspiration.
Oh, I love that. So, say somebody is a yoga practitioner. Maybe they dabble, they take a class, but how would you recommend someone start with the book? Like, where would they start with it?
Start at the beginning, but you can dip in anywhere you want to if you like. But the introduction talks about the philosophy and talks about how our true nature is bliss. What we really need to understand is that we're all just energy, really. We're not, Einstein had it. Everything is just energy, and that's all we are at heart. So I take you into a little bit of that in the beginning of the book, but there are a lot of practices all the way through as I walk you through the koshas, and lots of journaling exercises, lots of contemplation practices, lots of breathing practices, a lot of insights into the asanas and how they work. So it's a deep and really rich book. I wanted to just touch deeply into as many topics as I could so that people got a true sense of it. And then I finished the book with a nice little story that does help people to understand that we are at heart basically just this. Shall I tell you that story?
Yeah.
It's about a guy called Ketu, who in ancient India was of a noble family and he'd been sent away to be educated. And he came home to his father incredibly proud of everything he'd known. And he said, look, I know all about the stars. I understand agriculture. I know about engineering. I know about everything there is to know. Father, I am so knowledgeable. You must be really proud of me. And the father thought, this kid's getting too arrogant. He's really full of himself. I'm going to have to bring him down a little bit. Plus, he needs to understand that there's much more to life than he's been taught. So he said, Ketu, go over to that fig tree over there and get me a seed. And he brought back the seed. And his father said, Ketu, what do you see? And he said, I see a seed. And he said, open up the seed and have a look inside. What do you see? And Ketu said, I see nothing. There's nothing in there. And his father said, Ketu, you are that you are. Tat Twam Asi, which is the Sanskrit way of saying that you are. So the fact that there's a miracle of a tree that comes from seemingly nothing just shows that we're all connected. Everything is consciousness. We are all nothing and everything.
Nothing and everything. We are all that potential within a fig seed.
Yes. Exactly right.
There are many yoga books out there. I'm approached all the time to interview people, and you're maybe the second person I've interviewed who's written a yoga book. And
I wanted to
tell you, the Radiant Bliss, that got me. I thought, Bliss, we need to talk about that. But there are so many yoga books out there. What makes Radiant Bliss different?
Well, the fact that it does go through the koshas and help people to understand how to access the different layers of being, how to work with your energy body, how to work with your mind and understand that you're the master of your mind. The mind isn't the master of you, and how to then access your wisdom body by working through the practices with the mind. You see, what you need to understand is that, well, everybody, I'm sure you understand, what perhaps some of your readers might be helped to understand is that your physical body, the state of your physical body affects your energy body. And the state of your energy body affects your mental body. It affects the way you think and feel about yourself. But likewise, the way you think and feel about yourself affects your energy body and then has direct impacts on your physical body. And all of these layers of the onion all interact with each other, affect each other. And I'm hoping that by giving people practices that gradually work them through all of those different layers of their being and work on understanding how each of them impacts the other, they can slowly work on improving their lives. Start to access their true blissful nature.
I love that. That is wonderful. So, how can people find out more about your yoga practice and find out more about Radiant Bliss?
Well, you can get Radiant Bliss in every good bookstore. It's on Amazon, obviously, on Kobo and Apple Books and Google Books and the Nile, and it is in physical bookshops everywhere. So there's plenty of ways that you can get a copy if you'd like to get a copy. And of course, it's Kindle if you'd like a Kindle. It's a physical book if you'd rather have the physical book.
Right, right. And then you've got the website as well.
I do have a website, radiantbliss.yoga, where I have a blog which goes into lots and lots of aspects of yoga and yoga philosophy and yoga practice. And there are some free giveaways there as well, including a breathwork toolkit and some meditation practices as well. So very, very welcome to download the free offerings up there too.
I love that. Yeah, radiantbliss.yoga. Is there anything we haven't talked about, Sue, that you think is important for our listeners to know?
Perhaps I did prepare just a little bit to talk about how each of the asanas, the physical postures, have benefits on both the physical, emotional, and spiritual level. For instance, child pose, it gently stretches the spine, the hips, and the thighs. And it's great for relieving lower back tension, but it also soothes and calms the emotions, encourages surrender and safety. And in a spiritual way, it symbolizes the returning of the womb to the womb of the earth. It's an invitation to humility and trust. Every one of the asanas has physical, emotional, and spiritual benefits, and you can just dive into each of them. In my book helps to talk you through those two.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, the asanas, of course, are the poses that we go into.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a whole flow with them usually, right? And then, okay, this is me showing my ignorance, and I am not afraid to ask questions about things I don't know. Never heard of kosha.
Kosha, as I say, is the layers of our being, where yogis saw that we were a bit like an onion. And you can conceive of the bliss body being in the middle, and the bliss body is surrounded by the wisdom body, which is our intuition and our inner knowings. And then outside of that is our mental body, which is our mind, our memory, our thoughts, our feelings. Then over that is the energy body, and then over that is the physical body. So if you think yourself as an onion and you think about the way those layers interconnect, it can help you to get a better understanding of how yoga can work and help to transform you.
Yeah, good stuff. Sue, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, and you've really taught me a lot about yoga that I didn't know before.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's been a joy to talk to you.
Don't know what to watch next? Decisions. Well, we've got some suggestions. You can click this little video here and watch that. It's something that we think you're going to like. If you like the last one, you're going to like that one too. You can also click on the subscribe button. And if you do that, then you'll get notifications whenever we have a new video up. Win-win, right?